And so can you share with us some of the innovations, the recommendations, the suggestions that you've made into the fishing industry and how that alters their practice and how it saves ocean birds?
Yes. So in contrast to the work I was doing on emperor penguins, which is basic ecological work,
Yes.
you could call it applied ecology, I guess. The work on seabirds I'd call more like policy-specific work, where you could take a policy, let's say it's a conservation measure for a fisheries management organisation, conservation measure dealing with seabirds, try to improve the conservation measure
Yes.
by a process of science. Yeah, so it's a matter of, like I said, doing research to understand cause and effect, collaborating with fishermen, trying different techniques, doing robust science, which could stand up in international working groups,
Mm.
take the backlash from some members of the fishing industry from time to time,
Yeah.
and try to work that through management agencies and get it embedded in conservation measures, and then hopefully have observer programs that could enforce the application of those measures. So I suppose early on in my career with seabird bycatch mitigation, got lucky pretty early on. I worked in New Zealand with a fishing company there that was very proactive, very keen to make a difference. They were catching Patagonian toothfish in Antarctica and a species called ling around New Zealand itself. We have ling here in Australia. And the fishing company were pretty much happy to try anything to reduce their seabird mortality.
Okay.
I worked in collaboration with a longline gear manufacturer in Norway.
Yes.
And we came up with a new type of longline called integrated weight longline. So it's basically a standard longline for deep water use, about as thick as your finger, say, but it had a beaded lead core down the center. And after experimentation, I decided that the 50 gram per meter beaded lead core was probably going to be practical for fishermen to use and cost effective to buy. And from my testing by attaching time depth sensors on the long lines, it sank much faster than the conventional long line. Not only did it sink faster to deeper depths, but it sank instantly. And it was heavy enough to resist the upwellings from the propeller, the vessel propeller, which floats the normal long line. It could penetrate down through that propeller turbulence and sink straight away. So we did experiments off the south coast of New Zealand with this new line compared to the conventional line, which is like a control, head-to-head comparison. And in our first breeding season for the seabirds, it's an annual thing.
Yep.
With worst case scenario seabirds in the mix behind the boat, we got a 95% reduction in mortality. And
that's fantastic.
That was astonishing. I thought, this could be an artifact. We better repeat this work in a subsequent year.
Yes.
Rather than into the conservation measure of the organisation that was managing the fishery at the time. We did it a second year and we replicated those findings. And then
wow,
it was a matter of taking it to the appropriate conservation organisation that, in this case, I'm talking about the Southern Ocean fisheries down to Antarctica, and put it in the conservation measures, and it got the green light. And of course, the chain reaction among all the fishing operators, they immediately converted to integrated weight longline, and that was in about 2003 or 4. So it's been in the mix for 20 years, and it's still there. So it hasn't been kicked out of the way or taken over by some other method. So that was a great outcome, really. Those kind of outcomes aren't easy. It's hard to replicate that in other fisheries that don't have the sort of imperative to change as the one that I referred to.